Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me start by congratulating you on your election as the Speaker of this House and to your Deputy, Gladys Sholei. Mr. Speaker, secondly, let me thank the great people of Laikipia County, the people who believed in me and overwhelmingly gave me their votes and allowed me to become their woman representative. Mr. Speaker, it would be unfair for me to just end my story at that, and I think it would be good to mention that my journey with Laikipia County didn't begin with the ballot. The great people of Laikipia County, when I was called to the university many years ago, contributed their hard-earned resources and gave me an education, and that's how come I was able to go to the university. For that, I will remain forever grateful, and I appreciate that they also gave me an opportunity to serve them. Mr. Speaker, being a daughter to retired teachers, it's also important that today I mention Happy Teachers' Day to all the teachers in this country and in the whole world. Now to the President's speech, Mr. Speaker. For me, there were 4 issues that went home for me, and the first issue is in regard to unity. In the morning, I listened to one of my colleagues say that His Excellency the President didn't put a lot of emphasis on unity, and I would want to mention, having read this speech very carefully, it's not once, twice, thrice, but 7 times that His Excellency the President places a rallying call for unity in his speech. The first instance is when he reminds us that the closeness of the election is an indication that what unites us is greater than what divides us. He later on goes to mention that he'll be a hardworking and committed president to every Kenyan in this country. Thirdly, he goes on to mention that his administration will be of service to each and every person, and he also mentions that his will be a just and fair government to everyone. He also mentions that he'll serve every ward, every constituency, and every county in any region of this country. To me, that shows a lot of commitment to serve this country and to serve this country as a whole. Mr. Speaker, I move on to the second point, which went home for me, and that is His Excellency the President requesting this Honorable House to amend the standing orders to allow for cabinet secretaries to actually attend to the House and explain the government policy as well as articulate the government agenda. But most importantly, he mentions that cabinet secretaries will have an opportunity to answer questions from the members of this House. To me, Mr. Speaker, this is the most important thing that would happen in my tenure in this House, because, Mr. Speaker, every 2 a.m. at night, I receive a call from one of my constituents based somewhere in Kamwenje, asking me, Jane, the rustlers are outside my house, they're about to drive away with my cattle. On other occasions, I receive phone calls of members of my constituency telling me they have to sleep under their beds because the rustlers know how to aim their guns at the level of their beds. For me, Mr. Speaker, having a cabinet secretary attend to this House will enable me answer these people and will also ensure that we restore security to our great county of Laikipia. Mr. Speaker, our issues don't end there, and having the cabinet secretaries attend Parliament will also enable me to end the human-wildlife conflict in my county. We live in a situation where our people plant, but it is elephants that harvest their produce. That way, Mr. Speaker, I will be able to engage the cabinet secretary, and there'll be an end to these problems that my people face. Last week, Mr. Speaker, I received a call from one of my chiefs who informed me that there was a leopard roaming around in the village of Mudengera. Mr. Speaker, I don't know what I'll do with a leopard, but having the cabinet secretary here will enable me ensure full security for my people and safety in all that they do. Mr. Speaker, I also appreciate cabinet secretaries coming to the House because in my county, we have villages like Kafiro, Liki, Majengo, Manguo, and Minor Estate, where our people have lived without title deeds. This is a government that is committed to economically empowering our people. I believe when our people receive their title deeds, that will be a way forward for them, and they will grow economically. Mr. Speaker, I also talk of infrastructure issues in my county, which I believe a cabinet secretary will be able to answer me, because we have had promises over years of a road between Nanyuki to Rumuruti being tarmacked. Mr. Speaker, I believe this is a new dawn for my county, and all this is going to happen. Finally, Mr. Speaker, we have had promises of mega dams in my county. We all know we can no longer rely on rain-fed agriculture, and so our people are looking forward to have their mega dam built. Mr. Speaker, I know this is eventually going to happen in this tenure. Allow me to go to my third point, which is affordable credit. Mr. Speaker, it's important to mention that prior to joining the executive, I worked in the private sector. And having been an entrepreneur, I know the 3 challenges an entrepreneur has are access to information, access to markets, and access to finance. Of course, access to finance is the most difficult of them all, and having His Excellency the President mention that we are now going to have affordable credit through the Hustlers Fund, that is a very welcome gesture, and I know it's going to support most of these small businesses.